to pregnancy care, delivery, and to infants in their first year of life. So there's almost a 4-to-1 return on the dollars spent in this area. Ultimately, this figure does not include savings realized from the prevention and treatment of STIs, avoiding and detecting reproductive cancers, and these calculations do not measure the broader health, social, or economic benefit of enabling women to time or prepare for their pregnancies. So there's a lot of unrealized costs they're saving there also. And we had a discussion last week about the people that can apply for these, and according to Health and Human Services, 91% of all their clients had incomes at or below 250% of the national poverty level, which for a family of 3, the poverty level is $18,000 a year, and so for 2.5 times that would be $45,000 a year. So you are talking about lower income. 91% of the clients fell within those ranges. And with all federal programs, there's federal guidelines. And so I pulled the federal guidelines out and did some looking. I'd like to read a little bit of an excerpt. These are from Health and Human Services, the guidelines for our family planning grants. The Title 10 Family Planning Program is the only federal program dedicated solely to the provision of family planning and related preventative health services. The program is designed to provide contraceptive supplies and information to all who need it and want them, with priority given to persons from low-income families. All Title 10 funded projects are required to offer a broad range of acceptable and effective medically approved contraceptive methods and related services on a voluntary and confidential basis. Kind of goes on to talk about the different services that are provided along with that, such as patient information, screening for STIs, HIV, prevention, education, and testing, and pregnancy diagnosis and counseling. Now, the last statement in this column is one that I think is very important. It states, by law, Title 10 funds may not be used in programs where abortion is a method of family planning. By law, not even by guidelines, by law. Title 10 funds may not be used in programs where abortion is a method of family planning. Your question, Mr. Price, that is this abortive? According to the federal government, this is not an abortive device. Which kind of moves us into the devices that we're looking to purchase through these. I've done a little more research on that. I have a little more information on what they are. We are looking to purchase 4 different types of devices. We're looking to purchase the Skyland and the Marina, which are both intrauterine devices. They utilize a hormone to provide contraceptive systems. Now, the human body is an amazing creation. A woman's body has natural birth control devices that are built in. Hormones are what runs these systems. When a woman is breastfeeding, there are hormones that are produced that minimize ovulation, which is the release of an egg from the ovaries into the uterus. Those same hormones also thin the linings of the uterus wall, so that implantation cannot take place of a fertilized egg if one does get released. And they also increase the mucus, creating a mucus plug, which prevents sperm from entering that uterus. 3 different mechanisms for preventing unwanted pregnancies. That's during breastfeeding. The hormone used in the Skyland and the Marina are a very similar type of hormone. It produces a very small localized amount of hormone in the uterus, which thins the walls, the lining of that uterus to keep implantation. It also creates that mucus plug to prevent sperm from entering that uterus. It's 99% effective, and the benefit of that is that it does have a decreased amount of side effects from hormones. The daily pill and the Depo-Provera require a hormone that is throughout the entire body, and then there are side effects involved around that. The next item we'd like to purchase would be Paragard. There are certain women who do not react well to the hormone therapies, and their bodies sort of reject that. The way it works is it takes the same IUD and it has a copper wire that's surrounding it. When it's inserted, it releases a small amount of copper into the uterus. It does not affect the mother at all. What it does is it inhibits the sperm from entering that uterus. So we're minimizing pregnancies by creating an environment that's not conducive to having sperm enter. The last,
I'll just jump in.
Okay,
there.
absolutely.
I think I agree with what you said. But, the main mechanism is that they prevent the sperm from going up and meeting the egg. We always check a pregnancy test before we put these in, and so the chance that someone would be pregnant when we put these in would be extraordinarily small. And so it would kind of prevent the embryo from implanting, but that's not really the mechanism that's designed to work. The main mechanism is to prevent sperm from to go up and to fertilize the egg. So that's how they're made to work. So in my mind, they're not an embryo device.
okay. The last item we'd like to purchase, it would be, it's called Implanon. It is a matchbox-sized implant that goes beneath the skin, and it slowly releases hormones again that kick on those natural systems in a woman's body that minimize the ovulation so that eggs aren't released, and I also believe that it does decrease that lining of the uterus wall and creates that same mucus plug. So those are the 4 devices we would like to purchase with the money that's coming through. Now,
And the Implanon is basically long-acting birth control pills that's injected in the arm and the cells gets released throughout the time that it works.
yeah, it lasts for 3 years. So, okay,
Yeah,
now
and that's the 4th item. So you're talking the 4 different devices, 3 or 4 different,
3 different devices. 2 of them are different brands of the same type of device.
which is, they are IUDs?
Yes.
And the Implanon is not an IUD, it goes into the arm.
You're talking 2 IUDs, and what was the 3rd item?
3 IUDs.
3 IUDs, and the 4th is an implant.
Yes.
And those are the only things that can be used with this grant money?
Yes.
Okay. And the 4th was the implant, which is like a hormonal or implanted
Birth control.
birth control. And works essentially like a birth control pill, but it's long-acting under the skin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It lasts for 3 years.
Okay. Oh, Jeanette, you should be part of this discussion. I'm sorry, you should have been.
I'm fine. I just
you're from
wanted
the health.
to.
You identify yourself, please.
I'm Jeanette Rowley. I'm a nurse practitioner at the health department. I just wanted to add that the Implanon has been upgraded to the Nexplanon. That's the newer generation. So since they're asking for those 4 things, that the 4. It's
Okay.
not really Implanon, it's Nexplanon.
It's the same device.
Yes.
Okay, the first name you said Sky.
Skyla.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Now where does the LARC come in?
Well, they're all LARC, long-acting
Okay.
reversible
Okay.
contraceptives.
They're just different names, different
Okay.
company names.
Different brands, and I just wanted to be clear with what we're looking to purchase.
Okay, we were talking LARC the last time and we had nothing to do with the name.
Yeah, they're all LARC products.
Just trying to define what you're saying.
Okay. All right. Well, now the big question, and this the second topic discussion that I've really seen is that are these things really abortive? Health and Human Services does not believe that they are, but I thought we could get into a little bit of the X's and O's as to what's going on. And I thought about defining some of these terms that we understand what they are, but having definitions behind them may help a little bit. If you define pregnancy, pregnancy is a state of carrying a developing embryo or fetus within the female body. And utilizing that definition, comparing it to abortion, an abortion is the removal of an embryo or fetus from the uterus in order to end a pregnancy. So those two definitions work really well, and then they match very well. Now the question is that at what point does that become an embryo? So I looked up an embryo. The definition of embryo is a multicellular organism in its earliest stage of development, from the time of first cell division until birth. It's called an embryo in humans until about 8 weeks after fertilization, and it's become a fetus. The important part of that definition is an embryo is a multicellular organism, meaning that once you have a cell beginning to divide, it becomes an embryo. Goes on to explain a little more, in organisms that reproduce sexually, once a sperm fertilizes an egg cell, the result in that cell is called a zygote, not an embryo, which possesses half the DNA of each of its 2 parents. In plants, animals, and some protists, the zygote will begin to divide by mitosis to produce a multicellular organism. The result of this process is an embryo. So using the definition of pregnancy, using the definition of of abortion, and using definition of embryo, these devices by definition are not abortive. And so I think that's kind of important to keep in mind, and that's the main question: are these abortive? Now, the last point that I've kind of heard discussed from the public mostly, and from the discussions here, is personal choice. Now, please don't get me wrong. This is not the personal choice to be able to have an abortion or not. I think this is the personal choice as to whether or not these devices are abortive. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of definitions that describe this process, and it says they're not abortive. I think that it's the choice of individuals. Are these abortive? Are they not? And is this the right decision for their families to make? By voting no to not accept the funds is making that decision for them. I don't believe that decision is ours to make. I think as a health department, as a board of health, we should provide these services and allow individuals to make those decisions. These devices are just not abortive. Human Services do not believe it. Science doesn't believe it. Dr. Dookie doesn't believe it. Other medical professionals in this community do not believe it. These devices are the most effective birth control method in family planning, and they're not available at this time to many people in Saline County who need it, who want it. If we were talking about true abortions, I wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But we're talking about a very effective method for preventing unintended pregnancies. So in conclusion, I'd just like to ask that the Saline County Commissioners, acting as the Board of Health, vote to approve this grant funding so that we can provide these services to Saline County and let people make the decisions for themselves.
And I would just echo, I mean, the unintended pregnancies and teen pregnancies, in my opinion, are a problem in Saline County. Just from my 3 years at Saline County Healthcare and here at the emergency room, see the effects that has on families and young mothers. And so I think this would be a great way to help kind of reduce that problem that we have. You know, give women choices.
I think they have a choice, and you can still buy these, can't you? Can anybody buy them from a doctor?
They run anywhere from $400 to $1,000 or more to have it, and there are low-income families that just don't have that available funds.
Okay,
And so
now
because
these
it's-
are these all low-income families? You said under what, $18,000?
Well,
Is it-
91% of the 5
I
million.
understood that.
Yeah. So I don't know the numbers for Saline County. We haven't been providing these services until the option came presented to us today, or the last few weeks.
Sure.
When was the
So-
last time you did provide these services?
I wouldn't know the answer. Do you know the last time we provided these?
Jeanette,
We have,
Jeanette, stand up and speak up, please. Thank you.
we have provided them, and I think it was a year ago when the grant was available at that time. So we had a small amount of them that we did provide, and they were only provided to those people who requested them.
So, just recently, is it a year ago, has this been very many years that we've been doing this?
This would be the 3rd year.
Okay, so fairly new, services that the health department has been doing.
Fairly new, yes.
Fairly new, okay. Okay, now I have a question, since Dr. Dookie's here, our medical consultant. You know, the real issue came up, you know, the issue of IUDs. We're going back to the next one, or you called it
Nexplanon. It was known as Implanon, it's now known as Nexplanon.
Nexplanon, which the Dr. Dookie described as essentially like a birth control pill, correct? But it's an implant, but it's long-acting.
It's a thin rod that's inserted subcutaneously.
So it's, you're saying that can, if the commission said, well, we want to, if the commission wanted to accept grant funding, can we specify and say that's all we want with this grant money?
I think, I mean, from what I understand, is you can purchase
I believe we're given, spending authority up to that $6,000 on any of these products.
And then we can say this is all we want, and we can specify.
I believe that's true.
You
Okay.
could do that, but you're limiting choices. There are some women that have a sensitivity to hormones, and from those hormones, they can develop blood clots. And they would be, the Paragard would be advantageous for those.
Okay.
Copper, Paragard is an IUD that uses copper in the formula.
So it would be nice to have an assortment.
Okay. Commissioners, questions or comments?
And also,
I'm not familiar with that
I guess you said when they do the pregnancy chance, there's a small chance they can miss it. Could be
Nothing
1
in-
in 1,000. but it's a
Nothing in
small
medicine is,
chance.
0%. I guess if that's a hang-up, something you could do is,
Well-
you could do a pregnancy test. If it was negative, you could do another pregnancy test a week later. And then you'd have 2 negative pregnancy tests.
You did say there's a small chance it would work, so that is a,
Well, in medicine,
That's a
there's,
chance.
in medicine, there's nothing that's 0%.
it's science medicine. And then, you said on the embryo, DNA started when?
You have DNA, when a sperm fertilizes an egg, becomes a zygote, which does carry the genetic
So when does the
information.
DNA start? Right at that point?
Well, the sperm carries half the DNA and the egg carries half, so when it becomes a zygote, it has all the DNA.
My understanding is as soon as the sperm and egg unite, it becomes a DNA. That's what I've studied online. And so there's a DNA and it's, sure, you can say it's not a baby till it's born. You can abort it till it's born. Well, I don't believe that. And I believe that I go back to that embryo, when the DNA starts, when at the first conception. Okay, next. Well, how many of these have been sold?
I've probably done 15 or 20 of the Mescalons and 15 or 20 of the IUDs.
And, so we had another doctor that was here earlier today at 10 o'clock on the news, and we back and watch or 11 o'clock. our
Was Dr. Amy
televised-
Hogan?
Yeah, it was Dr. Amy Hogan. She showed up. It's the first time I've ever seen her before. And I was glad she showed up. She gave us a whole different explanation. And she is a, what type of doctor?
Well, family medicine.
And she's family medicine, OB, and does family planning. She has the same credentials as Dr. Seabury. But
Well,
her-
she's a family, Dr. Seabury's an OBGYN, she's
She
not,
is.
She's just-
not.
she's just a family medicine.
It's listed as OB/GYN.
Hogan.
She's
oh,
not,
I think her name is Hogan. You don't know her?
she's not an OBGYN.
I'm pretty sure it said that.
No, she said she's not.
She said, I'm not one of those. I
Thank
never said
God.
that. Well, anyway, I looked at it online real quick.
She's family practice.
Okay.
Anyway, anyway, the one thing about her, and one of the things that seemed to be a big argument here, she is a woman. And everybody said, well, I'm a man, I'm a man. She is a woman. And, so, she had completely opposite of what you've said. And, I think there's a lot of people in here right now that probably back up what she says, and I'm one of them. So,
Female doctors use IUDs 2 to 5 times more than women who aren't doctors.
say what?
Female doctors use IUDs 2 to 5 times more often than women who aren't doctors.
Where's that information come from?
From the, it's a website that talks about 2 IUDs.
I read so much stuff on websites, you know.
Jeanette from the health department, did you have something else to add to this?
Yes, I do. The one thing that wasn't mentioned about the LARC products, which are the 4 products that they mentioned, was the fact that they are reversible. And give a woman a depot shot, that shot is in her system for 12 weeks. Whereas if we would put one of these products in and have to remove it, it would be removed. And the product is removed.
And I might-
Almost instantly. I can't tell you exact length of time, but it's much, much shorter. The other thing, it doesn't have to go through the alimentary canal, like birth control pills do. They're absorbed differently, so, they're very quick acting.
But Jeanette, and I want to explain to members of the media and the public, Jeanette was with our health department director, Bronson Farmer, the first day we heard this 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
So that's why I will get to members of the public for comments here in just a little bit. But Jeanette was with us on the very first day of discussion on this issue, and has been with our director when we first discussed the grant. And then, so that's why we're calling on Jeanette this time. And it was kind of crowded, we could have had you in this first chair, but I guess you didn't want to be up here at the table
Well,
today.
it's actually my day off. I have a day off because my mother-in-law passed away and we had her funeral yesterday. So I'm on a day of bereavement today, that felt it was important that I be here, and since I wasn't scheduled with clients, that is why.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Randy,
Great.
I did find that online. It says visit Dr. Annie E. Hogan, MD, family doctor and obstetrician, genealogist in Saline, Kansas. It's right on her webpage. That was my understanding, that they had the same qualifications when they were pursuing this.
Okay. All right.
Except she's a woman.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for the commissioners at this time? I want to get to the public from here or from Dr. Dupuy or Bronson Farmer.
I think the only thing that I heard this morning when she talked, that they did ovulate even with the IUD. And I think I heard you
Yes.
say that.
But like I said, the
What you
point,
read there, you did.
the point is it prevents the sperm from
Sure.
getting to the egg.
I was just hearing two different things there. So,
So I mean, if the sperm can't get up to implant the egg, then it doesn't
Is
really
it one
matter.
chance in 1,000 it could be?
I mean, there's always a chance.
One chance in 100?
That's why we check a pregnancy test.
yeah.
But I'm saying that.
I mean, there's nothing 0%.
And I think also Jim made a good point that we're not telling people what to do. And I can't tell them what to do. And I'm not making judgment on that. It's just whether, if I can make a decision to say, no, I'm not approve this. I'm not telling him what to do.
But if that option's not there, then we're ultimately doing that.
No,
But it's still available.
They can
We
afford it.
didn't make it unavailable to the county. We did not make it unavailable.
No, that's true, but we have
But
the
that's the way
option,
it's been written,
But
and we did not.
but we have the option of
You're
making it
making it
available.
unavailable if you don't accept the grant.
Well, only to the county health department,
the health, just
only to the health department. It's not unavailable anywhere else.
If you were to outlaw it, that would be making it unavailable.
Wait a second, I'm gonna get to the public.
It would be unavailable to those clients that are clients of the health
Can't afford it.
county.
But I still think this comes back to our core functions. The core functions of a health department, we've so often talked about, are quarantine, immunizations, environmental. Those are some of the core functions of the health department, which we so, infectious disease, those are some of the core.
Those are statutorily required functions, but our
Right.
core functions are actually different. And we're looking at preventing disease, promoting health, and prolonging life. That should be our core functions,
Right.
not what's just statutorily required. We should be looking at what should we be doing to make our community better as a population, not individually.
like New York now, all sugar. Can't sell sugar. It's
Well, commissioners, if you don't mind, I'd like to open it for public comment, because they've all come to be with us here. We have one hand up. I'd ask the clerk to use the timer, give us a 3-minute warning, and just Since it's kind of a crowded room, I would ask those who wish to comment to stand, state your name and address, and we'll give you 3 minutes. Gary?
Gary Schwarzenegger, 528 South College, Saline, Kansas. My question, Commissioner Duncan, Guile, and Price, is it your intention in the very near future to pare down Saline County Health Department services to the minimum required by state statute?
Really just giving everybody a time to give their chance to express their opinions, so anybody else? Who's next? Yes, go ahead and stand, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Judy Larson, 715 North Pine. When I was 19, I left Lindsborg and moved to New Jersey. And the people in New Jersey asked me one consistent question. They said, weren't you impressed that everybody in New Jersey has their own bathrooms? You know, and I said, well, everyone in Kansas has their own bathrooms, but ours are inside. And that took care of that. People get the wrong impression. People across the country are getting the wrong impression of Salina because of the action you're taking on this IUD if you deny the funds. You're giving Salina a black eye. If you're comfortable with that, fine. I personally find it offensive. And I also, when we talk about choice, people having choices, I'm sure there's hundreds of people in Salina that wish they could have had a voice and a choice in the selection of the next director.
Okay, thank you. Next. Anybody else want to say anything? I got a hand up right over here.
I'm Karen Shade. I live at 111 North Wisconsin in Salina. I think there's a baseball metaphor that is relevant. 3 umpires are talking about the game. First umpire says there's balls and there's strikes, and I calls them as I sees them. The second umpire says there's balls and there's strikes, and I calls them as they are. And the third umpire says there's balls and there's strikes, but they ain't nothing till I calls them. And I think that's relevant to this discussion. I respect that all of you can only make a decision based on how you see things, but I think there are objective truths here. Just as a baseball can only pass as a strike between letters and knees and whether it's over the plate, there are objective truths about this issue. IUDs are legal. They're generally regarded as safe and effective. You have Saline County residents requesting this option. We have religious freedom in this country, and this decision is left to women to make. On the topic of things that are broader, I would just refer you to something that the Salina Area Chamber of Commerce 2012 candidate questionnaire. Candidate Price did not write down, either as his qualifications or his goals, anything about having superior moral authority or having extraordinary knowledge about the hard questions of life. He did comment, I found in the journal, about zoning codes and not wanting to see those rammed down people's throats. Well, I kind of feel that in this situation, the decisions that could be made could very well be ramming down the commission's decisions down the throats of those affected by this option. So I'm going to ask that you all blink real hard, try and remove anything that's obscuring your point of view, and make a decision that reflects the people you were here elected to serve. Thank you.
Okay, next.
My name is Chelsea Sutton, and I live at 822 East Beloit, Salina. And I would like the commission to also close your eyes for a minute and imagine that I am a woman who lives in Saline County, who makes $18,000 a year, who wants to enjoy physical intimacy and able to get any other birth control method except for the IUD. And I've come to the health department to obtain that because the health department has been given money to do so. And you will look at me and turn me away. And I think that that's irresponsible.
Okay, thank you.
all due respect, Lola Madison. I live at North Simpson Road, Salina. With all due respect, it's a lot harder to get an IUD than to get barrier methods. You can go to Walmart. You won't be turned away at Walmart. I'm totally thankful that you guys had the courage to vote down this money. This morning I talked about how even if the money is used to buy what is proposed to buy, there are still costs to us as Saline County taxpayers in administrating this and hiring doctors to monitor them and to take them out if they need to be taken out, and to have extra visits to the OBGYN to make sure they're still there, because 10% of them are expelled when they are first inserted, and they have to be reinserted, or a brand new one that costs up to how many dollars a piece? $6,000 will serve maybe 10 people to buy the device for them. That doesn't include the cost of administering or hiring the doctors, or even the litigation involved for when one of them migrates or perforates the uterus, or gets tangled up in a fetus, or causes someone to have a pelvic inflammatory disease and renders them unable to have children. We need to think about litigation, because we need to think about that. And I'm getting cranky, so I'm gonna sit down.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just have a brief question. Runs around 1211 Trees Road, Belfast, Kansas. Is it not the responsibility of the commission to set policy and administration to carry out that policy, instead of the administration saying, the health department should make this decision?
Well, to answer your question, it's policy been in place for 15 years for the county commission to approve all grants, grant applications and grants, and that's what we're doing. We're doing our job.
So it's up to you to
It's
make
up
that
to us,
decision.
and we're also the Board of Health now.
I'm satisfied.
Okay, thank you.
I thought it was going the other way there when I heard Mr. Farmer say, I think the health department should make that decision.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
Clark Sanders, 2096 Leland Way. As stated this morning, I don't think that the county health department should be in the business of birth control, period. But that being said, as I understand these methods, they do nothing to prevent sexually transmitted diseases. And one might be able to make the argument that by providing this kind of birth control might encourage the very activity that causes sexually transmitted diseases. And so this just isn't anything that the commission and the health department should be involved in my opinion. And I support your original vote to deny the grant, and hope that you stay the course.
Okay.
Jeanette Kerwin. As far as these devices promoting sexually transmitted disease, preventing sexually transmitted disease, there is research out there that shows that it doesn't promote promiscuity. And as we know, we already have a problem in Saline County with STDs and pregnancies, and it's not going to, we're not doing these to promote STDs.
Well, you're putting words in my mouth. I said prevent.
Okay.
Do these devices prevent sexually transmitted diseases?
No, they don't. If you're looking at,
That's not what they're designed, they're not designed.
I understand that.
They're designed to prevent pregnancy.
I get that.
yes, the whole idea is prevention of pregnancy.
But neither is a pill. That's.
Nothing will.
Theoretically, theoretically.
Well, yeah, their percentage of
Failure is very
failure
high.
is very high, yes. And to get a man to put one on is very difficult because, I'm sorry, but I see both men and women in the clinic, and,
This is the very reason we shouldn't be involved in it.
Okay, we got a little off track, but that's all right. If anybody else? Yes.
Lori Trello, 740 South 9th. I just think it's an abomination that you're taking away the choice for women. The IUD might not be right for everybody, the pill might not be right for everybody, but it's their choice between them, their partner, and their doctor. They should be given the choice.
Okay. But again, that people have services elsewhere in the county, that's the other point. Anyone else? Yes.
Winthrop, 945 Channels Drive. I would ask the city or the county commissioners, to look at the people that are making the recommendation. These are your health department members of the medical community. None of the three of you have a medical background. They are saying this is a good idea. Does it mean it's a good idea for everybody in the county? No. Do you have to oppose abortion to say you shouldn't prevent pregnancy? No. Do you have to be pro-life and say, no, I can't do this? It's a decision that should be allowed to be available at the public health department for those people who cannot obtain that service on their own. Look at the people that are making the recommendation. They know what they're doing. They've been doing it. Jeanette's been working at the public health department for years. She's very informative. She's an educated provider. She knows what she's doing. She wouldn't come to you and say, this is a good idea, if it wasn't a good idea. Would we be having the OBGYN doctors in the community providing it? Would the family physicians in the community be providing the service if it was not a good service? It is. It's money that's available that's not costing you a thing. It's allowing the public to have a choice. Listen to your medical providers. Listen to your experts that know about this. It may not be what you want the county to have, but it's something that the county, the people in the county, should have the option of going to the public health department and asking for that option.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have 2 times?
Well, let me get to the first timers and then go back around one last time. I just try not to do that. Well, yes.
I was just going to say.
Marlene, your name and address, I know who you are.
Marlene Hermas, 3348 North Muir Road in Saline County. And I was going to say that it was explained how that $6,000 doesn't cover all the ramifications of the insertion, the follow-up, and the litigation that might happen. So we can't just say $6,000 and it wouldn't cost the taxpayer anymore. Also, since Dr. Amy Hogan cannot be here this afternoon, I have an article that she published in a publication that says that the chemicals that are contraceptive chemicals that are released are deadly. Here are a few reasons. The hormones that are released can be deadly. The hormones cause death in women because of side effects like blood clots, lung or heart attack. According to the physician's desk reference, every woman who goes to the emergency room with a chest pain will be asked if they are taking hormones. This is because emergency room doctors know that this is a risk factor. Young, unsuspecting women have died and will continue to die from the effects of the hormone. Even if a blood clot does not cause death, it would cause devastation. I know contraceptive hormones caused a 30-year-old woman to have a stroke. This means a blood clot went to her brain and she will live with the effects of this for a lifetime. She had no other known risk factors for a stroke. I've also seen a woman after a blood clot went to her eye. The young victim was 24 years old, and when this occurred, she is dealing with blindness now. A clot can form and occur in seconds. Other terrible effects take time to detect. It can cause breast cancer. The World Health Organization and the International Agency for Research on Cancer have called combined contraceptives a class 1 cause for breast cancer. This is like smoking in regard to lung cancer. A comprehensive study had 21 out of 23 studies show that the hormonal contraceptives cause increased risk of breast cancer, according to the Mayo Clinic. Besides death, cancer risk, nobody wants the common side effects either. These include nausea, bloating, irregular bleeding, breast tenderness, headaches, weight gain, mood swings, vaginal yeast infections, elevated blood pressure. Anytime you try to thwart nature, put something in the body that doesn't belong there, that's not natural there, there are effects on the body. And,
Donnie just took you back.
Three.
Oh, okay.
I would say to that any medicine, there's benefits and risks, and, as doctors, we explain that to the patient, and that's their decision if they want to take that risk. There certainly are benefits to birth control pills, and I guess I would disagree that birth control pills cause breast cancer. Women that take estrogen after menopause certainly have an increased risk of breast cancer.
I also would like to thank the commissioners for standing strong and
State your name.
My name is Mark Roberti, 1006 Highland Circle, Saline. Again, I'd like to thank the commissioners for standing strong. Making a tough decision, but making the right decision. Contrary to what Mr. Bronson says, IUDs can and do cause serious infections and abortions. Chemical means of birth control can do, and all too frequently, cause spontaneous abortions. Also, the mother also dies from complications of the IUD and artificial means of chemical birth control. What women are doing is putting foreign agents and dangerous chemicals in their body to trick it into doing something that the body naturally does, that is to have babies. The woman's body is a masterpiece, God's masterpiece, designed to create babies and propagate the human species. As a consequence of these artificial means of contraception, years later, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and other afflictions can often, way too often, kill the mother. Since the introduction of chemical contraceptives, these cancers increase astronomically. The truth is, if you don't believe me, read inside the packets. Read the information inside the packets. And though this is through this is the way that the pharmaceutical companies make money, huge amounts of money. They don't give a rip about the woman, and they don't care about the consequences of the woman. What they care about is the money. IUDs are tributaries to a river called abortion. Abortion is evil. It exploits women, kills babies, and destroys families. It's a blight on our culture. Mankind has turned its back on God, and as a consequence, God is turning his back on man. Years ago, doctors used to have to take a Hippocratic oath. It's one of the oldest binding documents in history. The basic tenet was, do no harm. Let me read 2 sentences from an early version of the Hippocratic oath. I will prescribe regimens for the good of my patients according to my ability and my judgment, and never do harm to anyone. I will give no deadly medicine to anyone if asked, nor suggest any such counsel, and similarly, I will not give a woman a pessary to cause an abortion. I would suggest to you, noble commissioners, that the apple has fallen far from the tree of good and evil. Do not eat of it. In doing so, you'll put yourself and your constituents in danger. Gentlemen, I ask you to stand firm in your conviction, and I thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and there's, I'm gonna try not to do redos from anybody. I've done, the exception to that was our health department staff member, and I think you're first time for you?
Yes.
Okay, you state your name.
My name is LaVonna Brown. I live at 1211 Treat Road. I would like to commend these commissioners for what they have done, for the vote that they have voted. There was a reason why your first gut feeling and your first action was to vote against this, and you are right. This leads to a whole lot of problems, and you've heard a lot of good persuasive comments made today, and it's been pretty heavily skewed to the pro side. Do not let that sway what prompted you in the first place to vote against this, because you are right, this is essentially a type of blood money. And as long as there is the chance of a fertilized egg, which is the beginning of a human life, being killed, aborted, that risk is there, and that is wrong. So I applaud you, I commend you on your initial gut feeling of voting against this, and please, I would implore you to stick by your guns and be not afraid. Black eye to Salina? I don't think so. I think it will be a precedent for other health departments or commissioners or whatever to look at your lead.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else before I bring it back to the commission for discussion? Anything new? Okay. All right. Well, I will say this, that the county commission, and this is the third county commission I've served with, third board I've served with, and something similar came up a couple of years ago on the previous commission I served with, under Commissioner Jerry Fowler and Commissioner John Reynolds. There's a federal grant through the Kansas Department of Transportation. It had been a federal grant through KDOT. And it was, the sheriff came over and he wanted a few $1,000s for DUI check lanes, safety belt and DUI check lanes. And the commission at that time voted 2-1, I think with Commissioner Fowler and I, voting to deny the funding. Because I thought, well, don't we already do that, Sheriff Kokanowski? He said, yes, we do, but it's free money. Again, the term was used, it's free money. And it was a 2-1 vote, and I voted to turn it down. Sheriff came back week 2, said, oh no, please reconsider. Again, there was no action taken by the commission. On the third week, the third time was a charm, came back, Commissioner Fowler changed the vote, and it was 2-1 to accept the federal funds through KDOT. But again, it was free money for DUI check lanes, and it was just for overtime for our sheriff's officers to run, check lanes on our citizens. So well, it's free money, why not take it? So I guess my gut feeling, I stayed with my gut feeling of not to accept the money. And this is a very similar situation, it's a different issue. So the commission's taken its vote, it's taken a lot of time to hear from its citizens, its taxpayers on both sides of the issue. And I guess now I appreciate everybody being here again today to discuss this. I don't anticipate that we're gonna discuss this again, and I'll bring it back to this board to make additional comments. Commissioners Price and Commissioner Guile, do you have any other comments?
I guess over every week, I'm a little stronger than what I believe. I say that gut feeling the first time, but then I didn't feel right about it. I studied it, and last week I felt a lot more right about it. This week I feel with all these people that supported us, I'm glad to see some people come out. Finally were tired of hearing the other side and came out and supported us, and especially Amy Hogan. I really appreciate that she took the time to come and tell us what she told us today. So I'm stronger than what I was before. Of course, I said I didn't change, but I'm even that much stronger now than I was before. So.
Okay.
I would have to say that I'm stronger than I was, only because yesterday was a bad day for me. I've had to spend a lot of time away from my grandkids. That came, they're pretty important. I know that has nothing to do with you guys, but man, I'll tell you, without my grandkids, I don't know. I still have to believe that it was made to bear children, and a contraceptive. I understand my wife used a contraceptive when my kids were born, but it was not an IUD. she was thinking about IUDs, that there was a DAL-KON was the contraceptive at that time, it was a IUD. And, if you guys know anything about it, why, you'll know why you decide maybe an IUD isn't the thing. Has anybody ever heard of that? Now, huh? What do you know about it?
I think it was banned.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Okay. And, I mean, I've had to study hard at this. It was not easy because I was the only one that probably would have voted to let you have the grant, even today.
I'll just say that I'm disappointed in the commission's decision. It looks like they're going that direction. It seems like science tells us that these items are not abortive. Federal government says they're not abortive. Our guidelines state that they're not abortive. And this is a service we can provide to citizens of Saline County that need and want that service. And by making a vote, we offer that to them, and by not, it's disappointing that we're gonna continue this direction.
Tell me what the numbers are that this year $6,000 would buy.
Probably 20.
Okay, 20. That means that,
20 unwanted pregnancies that will change those families' lives forever and generationally. For those 20 people, this is very important. This isn't just $6,000 for them. This is the rest of their life and potentially generationally down the line. I think it's disappointing that we're not taking this more seriously.
What about the other 2,000 that like to have it free? It's not very fair to them either.
Well, it's always next year. I mean, if we continue to provide these services, maybe we can get there. We can do what we can do. I think it's disappointing to me that we're gonna go that direction.
I agree, it's very disappointing. I mean, I think it brings up a larger issue, it's probably not for today, but I think this is why we need a health board made up of
that's exactly what we need.
local medical
Push that,
professionals.
so the advisory board needs to be put together and get it done.
We are the health board.
And the advisory board be able to make decisions.
We are the three decision makers at this time.
I guess that's what I disagree with. I think it should be left to local medical professionals.
And we have those. We have nurse practitioners, we have physicians, and they're both recommending that we accept these funds.
I've had 3 recommend not accepting. And 1 came forward, it wasn't one.
You know, this is a very gray area. It's not clear cut. And for the Board of Health to make that decision in such a gray area is again, it's just disappointing.
Randy, are you still sticking to what you're talking?
Well, I'm asking you as a board, what your thoughts are, and the vote was taken 3 weeks ago, and the vote stands unless this board wants to reverse itself on the stand it took.
There'd have to be a motion for a reversal.
I think you as Commissioner Price, you have very strong feelings. We made our vote. We've talked to people. We've listened. We've received a lot of emails, and I think we're pretty firm in our position.